Hey Snapchat, today I want to talk about the topic of personal branding. What I mean by personal branding is how you communicate to others in the outside world the value and assets of yourself. When you think about branding at a startup, if you don't control the message and communication and how people perceive your company, someone else will control your brand. The same thing is true about personal brand. If you don't control how other people perceive you, other people will determine how you're perceived. I want to tell you about the journey of my own personal brand as an example, and then afterwards tell you how you can make it better for yourself. When I did my undergraduate degree, I was very technical. I was a programmer going into college in 1986. But I decided instead to study economics. So I graduated with a double degree in economics and political science. My first job was as a programmer. I entered what was Andersen Consulting, and I programmed for large corporates. But I got put into a bucket called the business group that did technical programming. I had friends from my undergrad that never had done programming in their life, but they graduated with engineering degrees. And as a result, they were naturally put on the deeply technical track within Andersen Consulting. I realized really early that the market defined me by what my degree was rather than what my skills were. I worked really hard to change perceptions about me. Anyone I could talk to, I told them I'm deeply technical in computer networks. I eventually was able to parlay this into transferring into the deeply technical part of Andersen Consulting, and I got to move to Europe. I then got to work on a bunch of deeply technical projects as the internet was emerging, rolling out internet networks or intranets. Suddenly, any business issues that came up, when I was involved, people would say, well, you don't really know that, you're the techie. I couldn't believe that just 6 months earlier, I had the opposite problem. The market wants to brand you. People want to put you in a box. So I had the chance to work on a strategy consulting project with all the MBAs. There was only one problem. People said to me, you don't have an MBA, you can't do strategy consulting. And I said, well, your strategy projects are helping telecommunication companies figure out their internet offerings. I know the internet and I have an economics undergrad degree. I think I can help. I got one senior partner to take a chance on me. He said, I'll give you one project to see how you do. I did well on the project, so they asked me to interview to get into the strategic consulting practice of Andersen Consulting. I got in. I got Andersen Consulting to sponsor my MBA at University of Chicago. And here's the funny thing. I then started working at CEO level in companies, working on things like M&A strategy or corporate strategy, but suddenly when I wanted to weigh in on technical issues, nobody gave me credit because they saw me as the PowerPoint guy, as all strategy consultants are. When I decided to leave Andersen Consulting and do a startup, I wanted to raise money and be CEO of a startup company, but I had one problem. Every investor said to me, well, you're just a consultant. We generally don't like consultants as CEOs. Here I'd gone from business guy to technical guy to PowerPoint guy. Now I'm ex-consultant. What I'm trying to impress upon you is how tightly markets and people want to put boxes and labels around you, and later I'm going to tell you how to break them. I got some investors to take a chance on me in 1999, and then suddenly I was a startup CEO. Literally 3 months after raising money, everyone just considered me a startup founder. So I built and sold that company, and in 2005 I started my second company. By then I kind of understood how personal branding works. People want to attach labels. They want to understand how to define you. So from day one of raising money for my second company, I just started saying I'm a serial entrepreneur. What is a serial entrepreneur? I don't know. It's someone who's done at least 2 companies. Do you have to have done 3 or 4 or 5? The more I said, I'm Mark Suster, I'm a serial entrepreneur, other people repeated it, and I became Mark Suster, serial entrepreneur. Then I sold my company to Salesforce.com, and I started talking to VCs about, hey, maybe I should switch sides of the table. Suddenly everybody said to me, yeah, but you're an entrepreneur. You aren't an investor. What about if we brought you in as an EIR? And I said to them, well, there obviously was a time where you weren't an investor and you had to learn at some point. I mean, shouldn't you give me the opportunity? Luckily, the VC that had backed both of my companies wanted to bring on partners who had operating experience, and that's how I got into VC. And you know what? 3 months after I became a VC, no matter what I said in the industry, every entrepreneur always said, yeah, but that's just because you're a VC. I felt like instantly I had lost my entrepreneurial bona fides because people wanted to put me in this little box called evil VC. It's human nature for people to want to define you. So here's what you need to know about personal brand. Number one, be realistic. Understand your journey and how people are likely to perceive that, goods and bads. Number two, list out realistically how you want to be defined. You can't define yourself by unrealistic targets. You need to find ways to subtly use these words in the descriptions that define who you are. If you have gaps in how you want to be perceived, you need to find ways to work on projects that will close the gaps. If you want to be perceived as a product manager, but you've never actually done product management, find a way within your company to work on a small product management project, or find a way to give some free time as a consultant to outside companies to do it. Start networking with other product managers, learn the trade, learn the lingo. Add the experience to your bio, add it to your Twitter bio, add it to your LinkedIn. If you've been at 2 or 3 startups, you could say serial entrepreneur with experience in product management, sales, and operations. If you say nothing, people will scroll in reverse chronological order and try to define you. Only you can control your brand, and only you can control your brand if you figure out what you want it to be. I didn't pick the name Both Sides of the Table for my blog by accident. My goal was to always remind entrepreneurs that for 10 years, I walked in your shoes with no money and scrappy budgets. And for 10 years now, I've sat on this side of the table, so I understand a lot more about financing businesses and about board. And I hope those 2 unique skill sets from both sides of the table are valuable to a subsection of people who want to work with me. I chose the name Upfront Ventures because I wanted people to know that our firm is transparent, upfront. What you see is what you get in early stage. Trust me, if you don't control your personal brand and how you talk about yourself and how the world communicates about you, other people will.